Yeah, thank you, Niharika. So, yeah, good evening, everyone. Um, and I hope all of you are doing fine. Let us start the today webinar that is based on the Python. And I know that you already teaching Python in your classes and already, have basic knowledge of or basic introduction. But today we will going to start from scratch and take it to the next three level. That is, we will cover it in three sessions, right? So let me, introduce, give you some basic introduction before actual starting with coding because we are just, crunches of time. So we'll, try to cover major part in practical, right? And beforehand, let me cover very quickly some theoretical aspect of Python. So very well know that Python, developed in 1991, a very popular and a high level language because, it's the topmost choice of the every like programmer because of its simplicity and the simple code syntax and, versatility and, it has wide area of application in almost every field, especially in AI, data science, web development, every field we can say that we have seen the extensive use of Python. And because of its very simple English syntax, it is very easy to master. And one of the fact we have to be well aware because we have to give credit to the developer, the Guido van Rossum, the main developer of the Python. And why he kept that name? Because the name is based inspired by some like the British comedy series Monty Python Flying Circus. So this is something we have to know because this is something the development of very prior stage of the language, and of course, we have to give credit to the developer. So yes, talking about the Python environment, we have already covered some very simple things about the features and the application. I want to take a leap on the ideally and the coding part, right? So basically, when we talk about the Python environment, every programming language has some sort of environment, right? We call it ideally integrated development learning environment. Basically, in Python, we do have an IDLE, and we will going to do coding in IDLE only because, like in like school level, we have introduced IDLE. But after that IDLE, we have a concept of IDE, integrated development environment. So, do you know anyone having know about the difference between IDLE and IDE? Does anyone know the idea and the difference between both? What is the difference between IDLE and IDE? Anyone know the difference? Because this is something new you will going to learn also. See, if you know, please kindly enter in the chat box the answer. Okay, now let me tell you a very major difference. Though the kind of ideally, a Python has an official website where you can go and download the latest version of Python. When you do like programming on IDLE, I'll show you which has two modes, shell mode and script mode. Integrated development learning environment. But IDE is integrated development environment, just like your PyCharm and Jupyter Notebook. Okay. So basically, IDLE used by the students or the one who are very much beginner, right? And IDE used by the professional, used for creating professional application, right? So the journey of learning Python start with the IDLE and then it lead to the IDE, integrated development environment. That is a huge difference, right? Because once you get well aware with the IDLE environment, it would be very easy for you to migrate to the IDE environment, right? And when we talk about the IDLE, here we know the concept. It has two modes, shell mode and script mode. I will, demonstrate the same. Shell mode, you can write the single line of code that can execute it line by line only because Python is an interpreted language, right? Interpret the execution of code done by the interpreter. Though in script mode, you can write your complete program and that would also compiled by the interpreter, but that would convert it to the bytecode, right? And that what further executed by the Python virtual machine, right? This is the power of Python. which make it, available to run in any other platform besides Windows. If you have written program for Windows in Windows, then you can run the same program in Macs and any other OS. That is the beauty of Python, because we, we convert the thing into um, like a bytecode, right? Rather than object code. Okay. Object code basically the machine language, because you must have learned about the compiler, change source code to the object code. But in Python, we have something different, that is, convert the exiting code to the bytecode, which is further, executed by the Python virtual machine. Okay. That is the main thing that make it so flexible, dynamic, and powerful, right? So let me tell you some of the building blocks of like the Python, very basic functions. We have a print function, right? We have an input function, very basic thing. If you want to print anything on the screen, that is something you have to use print function. And then if you need to get some input from the user, you have to use input function. Python is, very much different from other language. As I've told you, it is very simple, and within small line of code, you can complete everything. Why it is also different from the any other language? Because in previous languages, we use curly brackets to, make the separate, make, to show the separation between the statement. Here, you have the indentation plays very important role, right? So let me, show you this the important ideally shell mode and the script mode, and we're going to run a very small program over there. I'll also tell you how to download Python. So I think the screen is visible. See, during this session, we have many times we have to change or switch the screen, because every time we have to run the program. You have to write down Python download in your browser and then click here. It will take you to the official website of Python. I think the website is visible to everyone. From here, you can download the latest version of Python. Okay, once download, you can install or set up the installer, and then ideally will be installed to your like system. Okay, very easy to do, because mine is already downloaded. So I'll show you the ideally part. So this is ideally, right? This is a interactive mode, which is more or less work like a calculator, where line by line it will get executed. For example, if I write 5 plus 3, it will give you the answer. Very next line will produce an answer, because it line by line it reads the code and execute it, right? If I write print function, which I explain you, print, okay, it will produce result, okay? So basically, line by line, the execution of code take place. At the same time, if you want to work like in a, want to give a full set of instruction at one play time only, then you have to use script mode. File, click on new file, okay? A new window will open. Please let me know, are you able to see the new window, the script mode window? Otherwise, I have to share the screen again. Are you able to see the screen?
No, ma'am.
We can see, but please increase the font size.
No, ma'am, it is not.
No, I was talking about the script mode. Let me, share it again, because that is
Just
something.
interactive mode is visible right now. Script mode is not
Okay.
visible.
Okay. I hope it is visible now.
Yes, ma'am, it is visible now. Script mode is visible.
Right. So here you have to write the program. Okay, if you want to write 4 or 5 or many set of instruction, you can write and it will get executed at one time, just like the compiler work in any other language. Because in like if we talk about Java, if we talk about C++, basically the compiler works behind that. You write the set of code and compiler you compile that set of code to the object code, and finally the execution takes place. Here, basically, the interpreter, compile that the line of instruction, whichever you will write, or any code you will write under the script mode, that will be compiled to the bytecode, and that will further executed by the Python virtual machine. Okay, so if I write any code here, for example, someone asked me like, what is the difference between the Python and this? So basically, for basic working, you don't need to like install any libraries. Many things are already imported here. For example, if I take the example, like in other languages, you have to import the libraries. And there is also the concept of dynamic data binding, because in other languages we use data type before declaring any variable. For example, if I have to declare two variable, to add two number, I write in such a way, int A, int B, right? That because I have to add the data type before declaring any variable. Here, if I have to create any program. For example, you can see here, let me increase the font also. Just save this. Always save the file with .py extension. When you are working in script mode, you have to save the file. You have to save it using .py extension, right? Afterwards, you can run the file. Okay, please let me know, are you able to see the interactive mode where the result has produced?
No, ma'am.
This is actually, I will going to use this ideally for demonstrate this example only. Afterwards, I will use the online compiler because that is the best way to check your output simultaneously. I'm just providing a demonstration of using the IDLE so that it would be easy for you how to work on it, right? Otherwise, for explaining further concept, I'll going to use the online compiler because it would be very difficult to switch every time because only one screen will be visible at one time. Okay, I'm showing you the.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
It won't take the extension of its own. We have to write .py.
You have to write py, ma'am, because .py is the extension you have to mention.
But on other languages, we just give the primary name. The extension is taken by the computer of its own. So here we purposely have
No,
to
no.
give.
Basically, you have to write the extension. Here, you have to write
Here
the
also,
extension.
ma'am, here also it will automatically take .py.
But
Yes,
the best practice, sir, we have to mention .py, right? Automatically, it would be done, but yes, we have to mention .py. That is the best practice. We have to make the student understand.
By
Right?
default,
Because
it is
when
not
we
taking .py. we can create the program in Notepad also. Would be possible, it's true. That's why we need to give the extension.
There were like, for creating HTML, that is a specific basic practice we used to do, right? For creating HTML, we always used to write .html because otherwise it
Dot
took the
HTML,
extension
yes.
of in Notepad, right? So that is the best practice we have to do. Otherwise, we do have a IDLE where we don't need to write at all p.py, right? That would be definitely automatically taken by the, because we have one time we have to explain the concept, or we have to do the setting that we are creating a Python program, and that is automatically done by. But the best practice is used to write .py every time.
Yeah. Right. We need to give the extension.
Okay, let me show you the, see, in ideally what the main thing is, you write a program in script mode, but that will going to execute in a interactive mode, right? That is the main thing. You must have seen or while creating a program. This is because we have created a program there in script mode, right? And where I have taken two variable A and B, okay, and I've assigned the value to that variable. I have not declared that variable. I have not used the data type. I have not used the int float against that variable because Python, comes with a dynamic binding. If simply you need to declare, you have to use the variable and assign value to it. It will automatically understand that this variable is used for executing, it's used to having, assign the value, having the value of integer, float, right? That data type. So this is something, the concept of Python, because in other languages you have to add data type beforehand, right? So this is, the flexibility, and if you want, you can change the value to the variable in the program, and it would adjust it like accordingly. So you can see, while creating a program, I have already taken two variable A and B. I have assigned value to that variable. I have taken the third variable sum. Then I have taken A plus B and then assigned the value A plus B, the sum of two, into the sum variable. And afterwards, I have written print. Within 4 lines, the program got executed, right? That is the thing I want to, explain the difference between the Python and any other languages. That's why we call it object-oriented programming language, right? So this is a very, very simple demonstration of using the shell programming, interactive mode and the script mode. And I think you are pretty much clear about the working of IDLE, right? Because afterwards, I would like to, come up with some online compiler that would be easy to demonstrate or explain the concept. I think you all are comfortable with that. Working, it's easy for everyone.
Yes, ma'am.
So, okay. So I have taken this W3 school website. I think we can cover many things with it. This is one of the, I think, according to me, it's a good website for a practice and to understand more concept about the Python. And we were, learning about the Python variables. You have already seen the use of Python variables, and let me show you some more thing, some more way to assign value to the variables in Python, right? So, for example, variable, when we know, I have to, I just forget to explain you the basic concept about discuss the basic concept about the variable. Variables are used to store the value that can be, changed in between the programs, right? As the name suggests variable, we have already, if you were present in the last like webinar in Scratch, you must know about the concept of variable, that how we have declared variable to hold the values. Similarly, in Python, we have the concept of the variable which are used to hold the value. But the point is that while using this variable, you don't need to assign any data type to it, right? You can see here also, just we have to declare, we have to write the name of the variable and assign value to it. For example, here we have two variables x and y, where the 5 is the integer value that is assigned to x variable, and here we have a name, the string value, that has to be written double quotes, which can be assigned to the next variable y. And afterwards, you can print the value. A very simple way to assign the value to the variable. You can see variable do not need to be declared with any particular type. Though it has a data type, you can check its data type when there is a concept, there is a function with the help of which you can check the data type of the variable, right? But at the same time, while doing any programming, you don't need to declare the variable with the data type. And you can even change type after they have been set. Yes. See, here we have taken the variable x and x, right? Here I have assigned the value of 4 to x. Initially, number value was assigned. Afterward, in the next line only, the string value assigned to the x variable. So you can see it's so dynamic that it's automatically change the value of x variable to the string. So that is the previous value will be replaced by the next value. And one more thing I would like to clear, like in Python is a very case sensitive language. So basically, it treat uppercase and lowercase different. For example, if you have written X and if you have written like capital X, it will treat both the variable different, right? And there are certain rules of using variables. If any one of you can explain, can you write if know about the certain rules of variables? Or explain to me, like, is there what are the basic rules of declaring variable or using variable or writing variable? Yes, it cannot be start with digits. Yes. What we can use while creating a variable? Special characters cannot be used, right? Spaces are not allowed. Keywords cannot be used. Very nice. Keywords cannot be used. Can anyone tell me what is keyword? What are keywords?
Reserved word with compiler
Keyword
understood.
are the reserved word which are used for special purpose for the compiler.
Yes, exactly. These are the reserved keywords that has special meaning to the compiler, because if we say about the if, else, or any like loops for or while, so these words are actually have some well-defined meaning, and only that we can use underscore. We don't have to provide space. These are something that we have to take care of while declaring variable, right? These are some of the basic element or basic building blocks of creating variables, and that's why a certain care has to be taken while creating a variable, because you cannot use keywords. Shouldn't be start with the digits. It should contain alphabet digits, or like you can use digit but not in like the beginning, and you can use underscore but not any other special characters, right?
Excuse me,
So-
madam.
Yes, sir, please.
How many characters can we use for variables, madam, in the Python?
Like for example, characters mean, I mean, multiple. So you can. I think to explore the same. Basically, here are the some like you cannot start with the digit. These are the rules, but it should be, the naming convention should be there, right? You cannot, stretch it to the large. Naming convention should be there, and it should be, like separated by the underscore. That is the main thing, right? And like on your about this question, I can give you the answer at the end, right? Okay.
Okay.
If there any restriction to it. Otherwise, I don't think so. Like, but the naming convention should be there and should be something meaningful, and it should restrict it to something. But yes, I don't think so. Okay, we can stretch it to the search level. That is not also very good practice. But yes, with the length should be in such a way that it should explain the concept, right?
As of now, I use the 10 characters also, it gives result, and 15 characters also, it
Till
gives.
then we can use, but of course they are not such small restrictions are there. If you're talking about like, taking it to, 100, 2000, at least in such type of characters, if you're taking it very length, then of course we have to like to think about it. Otherwise you can take it to the 15 or 20, that is very easily. That is
Oh.
no restriction at all, right?
Okay.
But that should be meaningful because variables itself is still like a kind of container that is used to store a variable,
Yeah.
store a value, right? But
Yeah.
it should be, written in a proper way and in such a way that can be easily used in the following, like the syntax or in the following program, right?
Okay.
Okay. So, yes, there is a concept of casting. So I think if you have a prior experience of any other language, there is a concept of typecasting, right? So does anyone know about the concept of typecasting? What exactly is the typecasting mean?
Data type casting, huh?
Yes, data typecasting.
In case if the value is coming in integer, we want to print in float. So in that way, we can put double slash.
Yes, yes. One data type to another data type means you can, change the value, for
Implicit
example.
and
if you-
explicit casting.
Yes. That was a concept of programming language. Implicit if done internally without any explicit force, and explicit casting means you don't have to, change it forcefully. For example, if we talk about the integer and the float, right? So if it will, if we have one value in integer, if we have two number and we have to multiply two number, if one number in like float form and another number in integer, then ultimately you will get the result. You can get the result in like that float form only. So that is, implicit casting, right? But when we talk, if we talk about the vice versa, that was the part that we used to do through like explicit casting. So here in Python, we can convert the data type into different data type using the casting concept. For example, one of the very simple and very common is int function. Okay. So till now we have covered, let me explain this concept with the help of the example. So you have seen the example of Python where we have, assigned two variable with some values and have done the calculation. Now, in case if I have to get the value from the users, then how can I do that? I mean, which function helps me, or which building block elements of like Python help in doing that? How could I retrieve the value? Using the input function, right? Yes, input function is used to get the value from the user. Okay, so let me, do one program here. So here I've written, like here we have I think the screen is visible to everyone. This Python online compiler screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this is something online platform I have taken for executing because, every time it is very problematic to switch the screen to show you the like output. So I've taken online compiler. Already I've demonstrated about that ideally, so it would be easy for you to work on that, work on it. So we have taken two variable A and B, entered first number, enter second number using the input function, and then print AB. So what do you think? What could be the answer? For example, if I enter first number 12 and second number 13, right? So what could be the answer?
One, 2, 1, 3.
Okay, let us try. Why it happened?
Ma'am, by default, it takes in string. Then
Yes, yes. By default, it takes the value as a string. No matter if you're entering like number also. But in order to, rectify this, we can write int function. Let me run it again. So you can see we have to write int in order to change it to the number so that we can further use it in a calculation. That is the casting we are doing basically in Python. Okay. So I think the concept is clear to everyone. We have taken the int function basically to do the typecasting. Because, like in previous languages, what we used to do, we used to declare variable with data types. Simply, we have to write that int num, okay, int num2. Here we have this function to typecast the same. So without using it, when we get input the value from the user, it's showing us like, it concatenate that value, right? But when we apply in function along with this like input function is, converted that string value to the number, and then afterward it, done the addition and the result is printed. I hope the concept is clear.
yes,
So
ma'am.
we can move forward, right? See, it would be much better if you have like system with you so that you can start practice side by side only also, because that's how you can learn. Here I'm demonstrate the same, but if you have a system, that would be much better if you do some side by side practice. So we have already see the use of variable, but of course there are another way of assigning value to the variables, right? Here you can see here we have three variable x, y, z, and we can simultaneously assign value to this variable using the one line of code. If we are saying that we have three variable x, y, z, then if we write this orange, banana, and cherry, because why we use double quote, because these are the string values. This line of code, what it will do, it will assign the value orange to x, then banana to y, then cherry to z, right? Print x, y, z. It will, display the value accordingly. So you can do multiple assignment. You can, assign it to the values similarly. And it would be very, because that is something you cannot find mostly in the previous languages, because very, simple way of assigning value to the variables are here. And yes, see, many value to multiple variable, you can assign many value to the multiple variable. It can, and at the same time, you can assign one value to the multiple variables, right? X is one value to the multiple variable. For example, we have a three variable x, y, z, and if we want to assign one single value to all the variable, you can simply do that, right? X, y, and C. Of course, statement terminators are not required here, right? Because we don't require any statement terminator. That is the beauty of the Python, and that's why it's become one of the top choice of the every programmer. The syntax The code is very much easy to do. There is no curly braces. There is no like the terminator. Just you have to, when you will use the conditional programming, you have to write a colon to indicate that the following statement will be the part of that previous statement. Or very restricted use of the characters, or you can say we have. Okay. So till now, it is clear that the concept of variable is very much clear. Input function is clear to you, right? And the concept of variables are clear. Now, we'll tell you something about the conditional or the data types we can cover. So data type, we do have a data type, like, we have a string data type, int, float. Basically, this is one of the important data type. I'll show you one more program that comprises of the int and float data type, right? The value which can be, can be converted. And sequencing, mapping data type, we have the concept of dictionary here, and the set, list, tuple data types. We do have this concept also, but that will be covered in the next sessions, like the next session we will going to cover. And if we talk about I'll show you one more program. So can anyone tell me, for example, I have taken one variable price, right? And I have taken a float function and another variable quantity, QTY, and take a int function to get input to both the values. Now I want to get the, final value, the product of both. If I enter, to tell me, okay, that is just, for example, if it asks you, enter the price of the item, then what you can enter? Float means, for example, something in decimal, right?
Yes, madam.
So my question is, what would be the final value? What would be the final value in the form of int or in the form of float? I'm not, you have to tell me the answer. What will be the final answer? It would be in the form of float or in the form of int?
Float, madam.
Sure? Everyone? Yes, float. Yes, you can see. The final answer is in the form of float, right? So that is something, when we talk about the priorities, float having a maximum priority over int, right? So because if you have one variable in int, but another variable in float, and then you have to, come up with the calculation part, then the final product or final answer would take the value with the highest priority one. That is the float, right? So that is something we need to understand while doing or while learning about the variable. This is a concept that we need to understand. Now let's talk about the operators. Because after operator, we can, switch to the conditional statements only. So, Python operators. We have learned about the operators. I think screen is visible. Screen is visible to everyone.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So when we talk about the operators, you must have read about operators in your previous languages also. In Python, we also make use of operators because operators, are the building blocks of any programming language. If you do programming that, contains some arithmetic calculations part where we have to use the arithmetic operator, then we have a assignment operator that are used to assign the value to the variables, right? We do have a comparison operator, right? The comparison operator which are used to compare two values, and then we have a logical operator. Others operator will cover in the next session, but these are the very, very building, blocks of this, like the programming language, which help us to do various tasks because, when we use like the conditional programming or like the loops. So we have to use this comparison or the logical operator because that are used to set some condition, and based on that, we can take the decision to come up with any if you want any particular set of statement to be executed, then that thing could be done with the help of this operator only. So let us take a look of this simple operators, and I'll give you one program because that would easy to cover. Point is we have to change the screen many times. But at the same time, I have to explain the concept and we have to execute this. So I'm just showing you one program containing the arithmetic operators, right? So very easy. We have already used the add operator, the plus operator, addition. Then you have a concatenate, right? You can use two strings, and that, if like in programming language, we have the concept of polymorphism in loops. Means when one operator or one symbol can work with the two functionality. For example, this plus can use to add two numerical values, but at the same time, this can be used to concatenate two string values also. For example, I have written this string 1 Meenakshi and sent to Aneja, and if I represent this in this form and store the value in the result, res is a variable, then it will concatenate both the names. So basically it will show dual functionality, right? Then of course, very simple arithmetic operator, minus, subtraction, like multiplication. Then here we have this star. I'll show you while executing. Here we have this division and another quotient. So I'll show you while running this output. So you can see 10 plus 11.9, 21.9, concatenate two names to string variables. Subtraction, x minus y, four values there, multiplication, right? And if you can say string into one, then it will, repeat the value 3 times, okay? For repetition, for replication, right? And again, you can see the functionality of this asterisk, which is initially used to multiply to value. And when used with the string, it can be used to replicate or, replicate the string to that particular number. For example, if you write 4 here, it will replicate to the 4, right? Then here you have this the division operator. For example, 20 divided by 4, the quotient is 5. It's showing you the quotient, right? And of course, this again, you will get this value, the use of double slash operator. And that's very important. You can see, again, we have this asterisk, double time asterisk we have used. So basically it's used as a exponential, 2 raised to power 4, 16. So basically these are the use of the arithmetic operator. And of course, with the use of this operator, these are the building blocks of using like operators. So with the help of this, we can do any calculation in like Python. And again, we have different set of operators also. Let me show you. So basically, these operators are used to, for doing, for example, if there is another data type, Boolean, right? So does anyone know what is the use of Boolean data type? It shows a value in the form of
True or false?
Zeros and
true
ones.
and false. True and
True or
false.
false.
Right. Right.
I have one doubt, madam.
Just give me a second. So where we're going to show you, I'm going to show you assignment operators, right? So
I have one
these
small
are some,
doubt, madam.
sorry,
One small doubt, madam.
shorthand notation, basically.
Yeah.
These are, you were saying something, sir?
Yes, madam. One small doubt, madam.
Okay,
Uh,
please.
Now, if we use 2 multiplication, can we say that is square, madam?
Two multiplications mean, I mean,
2 multiplication
two,
symbol, can we say
yes,
that is
yes, of course. Raised to power, or you can say a square also. Because in mathematics also we say two, I was saying two, it's A raised to B, right? But that is also square. In next simple term, we are saying it's square.
Yeah.
If I say A raised to B, right, that means A square we are talking about, but
Ma'am, that is
no,
exponential.
that is not a
That
square,
is
but
for
that is a value.
exponentation.
That is
Exponential, yeah.
exponentation. I got really confused this time, sorry. That is exponentation if A is to B, because that is something that you have to do the power. For example, A is 2 and B is equal to 3, then of course 2 raised to power 3 is equal to 8. Of course, let me, get back to the previous one only. Okay, so you can see X and Y. Here X is 2 and Y 4, so basically 2 raised to power 4, not square, sorry. That was a confusion. I have already explained you that is exponentation, and EXP I have already written, right? I think that's clear, sir.
yes, madam. Yes.
Okay, if I change it to the 5, and then it will bring it to 32. Okay, 2 raised to power 5. We cannot say it to square.
Your screen
My
is not
mistake.
visible, madam.
Ma'am, I am
Screen
not
is
able
not.
to see the screen. Ma'am, this is showing you are sharing the screen, but screen is not showing properly.
Okay, let me do it again.
Okay, ma'am.
Is it visible now?
Yeah, ma'am. Now it is visible.
Yeah,
Okay, that is what I'm saying. Initially, because we got confused regarding that asterisk, double asterisk does not mean a square. Basically, double asterisk is used to raise the power, basically exponentation, where we have already assigned the value x to 2 and y to 5. That means if we're saying x double asterisk y, that means we are saying 2 raised to power 5. Okay. So here, if you change it value to 6, right, and run the program, then it will change it to the 64, right? So this is not a square, but yes, raised to power, okay? So here we have a shorthand operators, assignment operators. Basically, the concept of using operator is very crucial because, I've already told you, these provide a very, too much flexibility to the program. If you use shorthand operator, then it will save the file, and of course, it's provide an edge to use the next level of programming. For example, here we have a name variable, and we have assigned a value 100 to it. Then we will going to, print it very simply. This is very simple way of assigning a variable. But yes, we do have other shorthand operator. For example, sometimes you are required to change the value, and afterward you want to change the saved value to the in its own variable only. For example, if the value of the variable a is 10, right? And if you want to add something to it, but you don't want to change the variable, in that case, what you can do, you can use this shorthand operator a plus equal to 20, which ultimately you can say a is equal to a plus 20. You are saying that means, first of all, add the value 20 to the a variable, then store the value to a variable only. Means update the value and change it in it, right? You want to get the change in the same variable only. Then in that case, before going through measure explanation or measure demonstration, we can simply, or measure syntax, we can simply assign it using like that. A is equal to 10, a plus is equal to 20, which actually means that you are saying a is equal to a plus 20, and we are assigning this variable value to the a variable, right? Now, afterwards, the concept is simple. You have to print the result, and the same goes for the subtraction, same goes for the multiplication, same goes for the division, and same goes for the other the float division. So in that way only, you are basically doing a very doing calculation using a shorthand notation, right? And one of the good way to do programming, and a little bit you can say, if we move forward to the programming, this is the best way to use shorthand notations only. So we I'll show you the relational programs, relational operator programs. So the output of the relational operators always come in the form of true or false only. That is why we use this operator in for doing the if conditional or statement, or doing some conditional programming. For example, used for doing comparison to number. Then, for example, here we have two variable a 25 and b 25.1, right? And if we say print a is greater than b, then of course it will print the value, whether it's be false or whether it would be true. It will show the answer in the true or false only, right? Not in the calculation one. That's why this is one of the greatest pillar for doing any the conditional programming or looping statement, because the condition, we have to set the condition, and that could be set accordingly, right? So yes. For example, if you're doing the less than, then the greater than or equal to, means you are checking 12 thing. If it is greater than or equal to, right? Then of course, two things are covered up. Means this variable falls under the two condition, whether it should be greater than or equal to. Then the value would be true or false, depend on that. And these are the less than or greater than, okay? Now, sometimes people get confused between this operator and the assignment operator. So this operator, when we use this is equal to operator two times, basically it checks the equality between two variables. For example, we have variable a 52.9 and b 61.4. So actually we are checking that whether the value of both the variables are equal or not, right? But instead of this, if I, replace this V, like A is equal to B, so it will assign the value of B to A, basically, right? So these are the difference between the two variables, two operators. Then we have a not equal to operator. At the one time, we are checking the similarity, right? And other time we are checking like whether they are not equal to, means you are make sure if these two value are not equal to each other, then it will produce a result true. Okay. So this is something we can learn about the operators. And I think till here, we are pretty much aware of the operators, and we can have a quick view on conditional programming. Because conditional programming is one of the best way to provide flexibility to your program. So, does anyone know why do we use conditional programming? Why do we use if-else programming? We have majorly three type of construct, like the sequence programming, where every line of code get executed. Then we have a conditional construct, where we provide, flexibility or dynamic to the programming. For example, we have to set some condition, and based on that condition, the particular line of code will going to execute. For example, here we have taken a simple example of if. So the if will going to check the condition, right? We have learned about the relational operator, and that is why I was saying that learning about relational operator will provide you, edge to learn about the conditional programming. For example, here you can take the seed example. Here we have two variable, A is equal to 33 and B is equal to 200. Using if, we'll check B is greater than A or not. We have to write this column. Though in Python programming, we never use stop terminator, but for like using if condition, we have to provide the colon, right? This colon, which signify that the following line, this statement is in continuation, means the following line of code will be the part of the previous line of the code. And top of that, we have to provide the indentation, because indentation is very important. This indentation signifies that this print statement is a part of the previous if statement. Otherwise, this line of code will not get executed if it does not provide the the indentation. In previous programming, we used to have this operator, curly braces, right? To show the separation between the the statements. But here we don't use the curly bracket, we use indentation, and that is how the whole programming concept run. Now we are going to see that we have said if B is greater than A, then it will going to print that B is greater than A. Else it will not going to produce a result, right? Because that is something given in the condition, but else condition is not given. Now, in order to provide some more dynamic to this programming, we will going to add one more line. For example, if I click on run, okay. So you see, B is it check, this line of code will check if B is greater than A or not. Yes, B is greater than A. 200 is greater than 33. The result would be true. If the result is true, then only it will allow to move to the next line, which is a part of the if block only, right? So it will going to produce B is greater than A. If by chance we will going to change the value, and we're going to click on run. I've added one more 3 to it. Now the value of A is greater than value of B, means this condition will evaluate to false. It will not going to run, and hence the value, the result is false. It will not going, or it will not allow to enter to this block. Okay, that's why we have not, seeing any code, right? So we're going to add some more line of code to make it more dynamic. And in this, through this code only. Okay. So here we have used if, elif, else, right? These are the basic building block. Let me set it properly. Okay. So here we have two variables again. We have but we have provide flexibility to the program. Now we have different construct. See, if we have only like one condition, for example, we have to check that whether B is greater than A. We have to check this only, then we can, can be done with if-else programming. For example, we can simply write if we can skip this part and we can simply write if B is greater than A, it will print B is greater than A, else it will print A is greater than B. Okay. But if we have more than one condition, then we can use else if, right? In that case, we can use second condition also. If B is greater than A, B is greater than A. If it is not, then it will move to the second condition. If like A is greater, if B is not greater than A, it will check for whether A is, equal to B, whether both the values are equal, then it will print that A and B are equal. If both the conditions are false, then we don't need to provide any other condition. Automatically, by default, we will going to say that A is greater than B. If both the conditions are wrong, if both the conditions are not satisfied, that means it will be eventually this will lead to this conclusion that A is greater than B. Okay. So I hope this concept is clear. What I've tried to understand. The concept is clear for
Excuse
checking
me,
the
ma'am, one
multiple.
more question.
Yes, please,
Ma'am,
ma'am.
one more question, please. Ma'am, how many elif we can use in a program?
Multiple means multiple you can use, you can give many conditions because depends upon the condition.
No, ma'am, I am asking how many
Elif.
elif?
Elif,
Yeah, ma'am.
you can see, you can use multiple elif, means it's depend upon the condition how many you want to provide. I mean, if there are
Okay.
multiple condition in your programming, right, then you can add that accordingly you can use. For example, if there is a program, ma'am, I
Okay,
would
ma'am.
like to know the screen is visible to everyone.
No, ma'am, your skin is not visible.
I think some problem is there. So yeah, if we, for example, if you are, creating a program where you have to check the marks of the student and you have to give various range. It should like between 90 to 80, 80 to 70, 60 to 50. At that point, you have to use that programming. So you can use that programming where you can have to apply multiple elif because you have to give many conditions. Because you have to check it against many conditions. Here we have different like the minimum conditions only because we have we have two values only and we have to check whether the one value is greater than other. But we have added one more condition in between in order to show you the significance of elite programming, that whether two values are equal or not. That could be checked in a different condition only. So ultimately, the line of code will pass through this condition. And the basic thing that I'm trying to make you understand that is, like this provides some dynamic to the programming, right? See, you can see not all the line of code is getting executed. Only which, satisfy the condition will get executed. So we can make the program dynamic. We can make the program flexible. We can provide multiple condition, but the one which can satisfy that thing would be executed. However, in the previous programming, you have seen that if we write multiple line of code, all the line of code has to be executed through the sequence construct. But in conditional programming, we write many line of code and we provide some condition, and on the base of that condition, if the conditions satisfy, then it will that particular line of code will going to execute that particular construct, like that particular elif construct, or the programming block will going to execute. Otherwise, it will skip the rest of one. It will go through the entire thing, and and it could be the best possible thing. For example, the program doesn't have to execute the every line of code or doesn't have to go through the entire line of code. For example, if the condition is satisfied at initial phase only, if B is greater than A, right? then the control of the program will not going to, go through the entire line of code, right? So that is the thing. We can save the time and we can make the program dynamic. We can provide many things, but if the thing gets satisfied the initial phase, then we can save the time of the execution. And in programming, execution time is very, very crucial. That is the main thing, because it should be small and the programming has to be constructed in such a way that it, show all the element, but based on the testing, it provide you the execution steps. So this is all about the if-else programming. And can we take 5 more minutes to, to just check the do some hands-on activity? So one like, if you are like okay with it, can we take 5 more minutes to do some kind of small quiz basically?
Okay, ma'am.
Sure, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, you have to write the answer in the chat box only. Here we have a line of code, and if my input is like RN, what would be the answer? Yes. You have to write it first. Yes, yes, yes.
RN without space.
Yes. Hello, RN without, right, right, right. Because this is something, whatever we have learned so far, we have to make sure that we are particularly, aligned with it. So yes. The input function take the user input as a string and the printer statement print it directly. Hello, Aryan, right? Next. Here we have 2 number from the user we will going to get. And if I provide input 10 and 5, what would be the answer? Very easy. Yes. This is very, very easy one. Expected output would be 50 because it will convert it will convert input into the integer. 10 plus 5, 50. Okay. Okay, I think this is very, very easy, right? So if we have this line of code and input is 49.99 and you have to do calculation first. What would you have to do the calculation also? Yes, answer in float. Yes. Answer will come in the form of float because that is what we have covered. Yes. 149.97 float input allows decimal multiplication, right? Okay, now here we have 2 numbers. And what would be the answer if my input is 5 and 7? That is the main thing I want to say because this we have not used int function, right?
Sum is 5, 7.
Yes, 5, 7 basically. Concatenation because it is written there also string concatenation because we have not used int function. it will return 5 plus 7 result, 557, not numerical addition. Okay. And that is what we have covered in the session also.
I think 57 will be joined with is. Since there is no space after S.
Okay, might be because this is just PPT. Otherwise, you can get the correct output there in the screen only, on the screen only.
Okay.
But the main concept is like,
Yes,
the
yes,
concept of concatenation is very important because I have seen many of entered 12 also. So the main concept is we have to know that without using int, if you use getting input from the user and the input you're getting in the form of number even, but if you use that thing in the in calculation, then it will concatenate, not going to do addition. Okay. Enter a number and enter another number. So if the input is 10 and 4, then
2.5.
yes, 2.5. Float is the result of float result. Okay. What about this? I have not given any input. What would be the answer? X, the value of X is 100, but as it is given in a double quote, it would be treated as a string. Then we have make use of int function, right? And it will going to convert the string value to the number and will assign the same value to the y, right? And if we write print y plus 20, then it will give 120. Okay. So why we have written 120 string concatenate is not, see, I think some of you are having confusion. You have written 120. Let me tell you again, because in previous here, it was in the form of string, but we got it convert to like integer value using the int function. Then we have used this value to assign this value to the y variable. Okay. That's mean in like in x variable, we have 100 in the form of string.
There's
But
no
in
more
y,
string now.
but in the y variable, it got converted in the form of number. The y holding the number value, right? And now we can use that like y plus 20. If we, instead of y, if we write x, and what would be the value? That would be like different case. But here we are using the y containing the number because we have changed it to the number, and y plus 20 is equal to 120.
It
Right?
is explicit version.
We can't in like Python we have this kind of like casting term. We use casting. This implicit and explicit mostly basically used in like the other languages, but because we do have a functions for everything. Simply for simple thing we have to use function int for getting the value from the input from the user. So we can say it's a typecasting.
Typecasting. Sorry. Typecasting.
Okay. So yeah, here another code. We have taken first name and last name from the user, okay? And the input given Priya and Sharma. So what would be like the answer? Yes, concatenate. So I think that was a small quiz from our side, and thank you for very much for attending this sessions. And I hope you have learned something. And in case like if you have any queries and questions, we can have a discussion on it. Otherwise, we have covered the basic fundamental, and the attendance link has also been shared in the group. We have already crossed the time limit, and ultimately the quiz just is a kind of a small evaluation of the understanding what we have learned so far. And on the top of that, the important thing that we have to practice this. Once we have learned, there are many websites or many online compilers are there. W3 School, I recommended a very good website which contain lot of resources and lot of different way to even the online compiler is also there. And with the help of online compiler, you can do lot of changes and do some sort of experiment, and can get the result side by side also. And there are multiple things you can do with the help of Python. Basically, in school level programming, we have limited knowledge of or limited content is there about the using variable. For example, you can see assigning one variable to the multiple variables, right? And assigning multiple values to the multiple variables. Many things you can do, and you can do some sort of experimentation, and many resources are there. And whatever we have learned so far, it would be much better if we can have a practice for the same, right? That is only could lead to the perfection. The operators are very important, and building blocks of the Python programming that could help in understanding the looping statement and the conditional statement. Afterwards, we will going to learn about the list sequence set that will make use of this, like the operators. So this is very crucial thing, and the variable we have covered. Data type I have already told you. Like one of the important things that make Pythons different from any other programming language, you don't need to define data type of the